It was a classic tale of young love. She was the good girl with a heart of gold.
She's one of those girls that would make you smile if you're having a bad day, make you laugh when you're sad.
He was her lifelong bad boy crush.
Just kids having fun who think they're in love.
Young love can burn hot and passionate. They move in together, become a family unit.
But on a warm winter day, their young lives were shattered by the unthinkable.
It was a whole bunch of blood on the ground by where his head was at. And I was just like, Mom, they dead.
The investigation would unveil a long list of secret enemies and gut-wrenching accusations, revealing what happens when true love takes a twisted turn.
There was direct threats on the Facebook. Next time I see you, I'm gonna beat your ass.
You're ready to have a heart attack or something, man. No, don't do that. You're fine. You're fine.
Sometimes other people can see the things that you're too blind to see.
We who live in the world don't want to believe that there's that level of evil. Whoever did this was a monster.
It was all just a big plan by someone with no heart.
Thursday, January 27th, 2011. It's a warm winter's morning in the bustling city of Tallahassee, Florida, and a perfect day for traveling. In West Tallahassee, Tracy Bush and her son, Rontarius, are en route to the home of Tracy's two other children, LaQuisha Herring and Sterling Connor.
We were actually on the way going to pick my sister up to go to Jacksonville.
They're about to go on a scouting trip to Jacksonville, maybe find some new places to live, places to go to school and that sort of thing.
But despite their big plans, Tracy is unable to reach her daughter, LaQuisha, who hasn't answered her phone all morning.
So did she call back yet?
She's not answering.
Well, try her again.
I told Mom, I was like, she ain't picking up the phone. And that's when Mom was like, all right, don't worry about it. We're just about to go over there.
Repeated phone calls, no answers. She's thinking maybe they overslept.
A suspicion that seems confirmed when Tracy and Rontarius arrive at LaQuisha's townhouse on Quarrywood Circle.
She shows up to the house, uses the spare key she has, goes inside and sees who she thinks is her daughter sleeping. She's actually irritated. She calls out for them to wake up, grab her stuff, get it ready.
But LaQuisha doesn't budge, even with her young daughter, Natasha, playing by her side.
I just remember my mom calling my sister. She called her like 2 or 3 times, and she didn't say nothing.
But as Tracy gets close enough to scoop up her granddaughter, she makes a horrifying discovery.
At that point, she realizes that her daughter's dead.
Hearing his mother's screams, Rontarius runs in and realizes his sister's not the only one who's been mortally wounded.
I just so happened to look at my feet, and I seen my brother was laying there. It was a whole bunch of blood on the ground by where his head was at, and I was just like, Mom, they dead.
She grabs up the child and immediately runs out of the house. Pretty well hysterical. They immediately call 911 for help.
Even though I told Mom that they dead, I kept on going to open up the door. I went and looked inside the house probably 4 times, really just to make sure that I wasn't dreaming nothing.
Sadly, it's not a dream. In fact, this nightmare is only beginning.
Gangs, baby mama drama, and death are a terrible combination.
No one had an idea of who could have done it. We started to see it on TV. It just started to get kind of crazy.
Born in 1991, LaQuisha Herring was best known for her contagious smile.
She was a joyful person to be around. She kept a smile on everybody's face.
I still smile to this day when I think about my sister. Memories that I have of her is just of us having fun together, just letting loose and just having fun.
To LaQuisha, family was everything. But of her many siblings, she was closest with her younger brother, Sterling.
It was always fun to be around them, They keep you laughing. They was goofy.
Though they were inseparable, LaQuisha and Sterling had different goals. While LaQuisha hit the books, Sterling had dreams of making it big in the entertainment industry.
Ever since I can remember, he always been interested in music. When he got older, he wanted to eventually start his own music company.
Despite his ambition, though, Sterling soon fell in with the wrong crowd.
He had a lot of friends who, grew up want to be thugs and stuff like that.
But there was one friend from Sterling's rough crowd that made a lasting impression on LaQuisha. His name was Deshaun Thomas.
LaQuisha first meets Deshaun back when Deshaun and her brother Sterling were friends.
Deshaun Thomas is one of those guys, even though he had a rough upbringing, he was a smart guy.
He's been in juvenile facilities since he was at least 15.
Deshaun's combination of street smarts, book smarts, and bad boy charm caught the attention of plenty of young ladies, including his friend Sterling's big sister.
Hey, sweetie, what you doing?
Getting a drink?
Unfortunately, young ladies have a tendency to fall in love with the bad boy. And in LaQuisha's situation, I think that she met Deshaun and realized that he had a bit of an edge to him. At first, might seem kind of exciting.
But at the time, LaQuisha had a boyfriend, and she was 2 years ahead of Deshaun in school. So despite the attraction, she and Deshaun remained strictly friends. Then in the fall of 2008, at the age of 17, LaQuisha learned some very big news.
LaQuisha previously had a high school relationship where there was a pregnancy involved. It was a situation where she ended up becoming a single mother.
I think at first she was scared, but, with the family supporting her, it kind of changed her mind.
She was about her daughter. That's all she cared about. She was a great mother to her child.
Even though she had to drop out of high school when she found out she was pregnant, she was looking to go back. She wanted to better her life for her family, not just for herself.
That search led LaQuisha to enroll at Lively Technical College in the fall of 2010. There, she pursued her GED in hopes of a better future for herself and her daughter.
A lot of young people in the area, they stay to make a better life for themselves, working hard.
With LaQuisha's baby daddy out of the picture, the young woman with a beautiful smile caught the eye of nearly every young man on campus. But LaQuisha wasn't exactly looking for love.
She was a grown woman now. She was 20 years old. She was a mother.
But one hot August afternoon, while she walked across campus, 19-year-old LaQuisha ran into her old crush, Deshaun.
LaQuisha?
Hi!
Oh, man.
As the two friends caught up, it seemed Deshaun, now 17, had shed his bad boy past.
He was the guy who was in college. He was 17, like I said, taking classes while she was still getting her GED.
Deshaun was attending TCC, and LaQuisha, she was attending Lively. That's right next door to TCC.
He'd been out on his own for a while, and it seemed as though he was really working hard to better himself.
I didn't know you were taking classes here.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the whole college thing. Change my life up a little bit, you know what I mean?
More than just going to school, Deshaun was also saving money working at a local fast food restaurant.
She didn't see the thug. She saw a smart, articulate young man who wanted to succeed. And she appreciated that.
They realized, hey, I remember you. You were kind of cool. And let's go ahead and hang out. And the next thing you know, things get a little more hot and serious.
From the start, Deshaun and LaQuisha found it hard to keep their eyes or their hands off one another.
The relationship grew pretty intense, and it established really, really quickly. They would upload pictures on Facebook, go out in public. They will always be cheesing. You never see them argue. Every picture they take, they're either kissing or holding each other's hand.
It was a very intense relationship. It seemed as though he wanted a family. He wanted to have someone there, someone familiar, someone he knew from middle school. Growing up, he didn't have a big family, so it was something new for him.
They move in together, become somewhat of a family unit for a time, and everything is happy, everything is roses.
But almost as quickly as it started, the whirlwind romance cooled off. It seems a crowded house that included LaQuisha's brother Sterling and daughter Natasha quickly lost its charm for 17-year-old Deshaun.
I got somewhere to be. I love my niece and all, but you gotta get her. I'm ready to go. She's downstairs crying. You've been up here all day.
With tensions running high, Deshaun decided he should move out.
Deshaun, even though he may be, deeply in love or have a strong ties to LaQuisha, he was not ready for that responsibility.
After moving out, Deshaun crashed at the home of a coworker named Tom Ramsey.
I gotta go to work, man.
All right, dude. Yeah, man.
He didn't seem to mind. He was almost happy, almost relieved to not have that pressure anymore where he had to come home. He had to report to his girlfriend and say where he's going, when he's going out.
Deshaun may have been avoiding the pressure of playing surrogate dad to LaQuisha's baby girl. But in September of 2010, other, even greater responsibilities would come knocking.
I'm pregnant.
Pregnant? Are you sure? You positive?
Lo and behold, he finds out LaQuisha's pregnant.
That made life very serious all of a sudden.
At Deshaun's urging, LaQuisha made the tough decision to terminate her pregnancy.
She went to one of the abortion clinics in Tallahassee to go through with this process.
He was accompanying her to the clinics and things. This apparently was a major emotional decision for her, which I think it would be for any woman.
With Deshawn by her side, LaQuisha made it through the trying time. But when her mother decided to move the family to Jacksonville, both LaQuisha and Deshawn viewed it as an opportunity to go back to being good friends rather than lovers.
This family had decided to move to Jacksonville and was going to start anew.
But just as LaQuisha and her family decided to move to Jacksonville, that fresh start came to an abrupt end on the morning of January 27th.
It's a horrible scene. You see the daughter not knowing her own mother is dead.
Pretty heavy image to see.
But is this apparent double homicide a random act of violence or evidence of a sinister plot? As the news sends shockwaves through the community, investigators uncover a terrifying truth. LaQuisha and Sterling aren't the only victims.
I thought something like this happened in, little old Tallahassee.
Childhood sweethearts, 20-year-old LaQuisha Herring and 17-year-old Deshawn Thomas had a bond like no other.
They met in middle school, very young kids, probably just kids having fun. It was a very on and off relationship. A little later in life, they found each other again and fell back in love.
But after a failed attempt at living together and a pregnancy scare, Deshawn and LaQuisha decided to go back to just being friends.
It was obviously on again, off again. But they were still friends. I mean, they were still talking.
But that friendship came to a sudden tragic end on the morning of January 27th, 2011, when LaQuisha's mother and her son, Rontarius, found LaQuisha and her little brother, Sterling, murdered in their Tallahassee home.
The mother and her son, they walk in, they notice a little bit of blood, and that's when they know that both of them are dead.
Within minutes of the frantic 911 call, Leon County Sheriff's investigators have turned the quiet neighborhood into a scene from a cop movie.
Started to see, police officers, the yellow tape, the crime scene truck, forensic truck.
Everyone was outside wondering what was going on. They knew something big had happened.
Upon entering the home, detectives immediately confirm both victims have been shot twice in the head at close range. And based on the position of the bodies, it seemed to be a surprise attack.
She's still sitting comfortably, as girls sometimes do, with her leg up underneath her.
Sterling's still in his blanket, and the blood actually soaked through the blankets.
The way that the blanket over Sterling was covered, it appears that his head would have been partially concealed by a comforter, and he may well have grabbed that comforter and kind of as an instinctual tried to shield himself with a blanket from a bullet. They were completely at ease, and it was a complete and perfect ambush.
But who would target two innocent young adults? Near LaQuisha's body, police find their first potential piece of evidence.
Got a cell phone. It's passcode locked.
One of the first things you want to know is who were they talking to, and that's probably the first lead.
Officers bag the phone for forensic processing, but further physical evidence is harder to find.
There's not a lot of DNA evidence there at the scene, not a lot of physical evidence for them to look at.
But as they continue through the house, police do note something interesting.
Front door was locked, the back door was unlocked.
There is a single muddy shoe print, too small to accurately identify the tread, but enough to suggest the killer slipped out the back door and into the night. And when CSIs take a closer look at the back door, they find another clue.
We've got touch DNA. It's on the deadbolt and on the doorknob. That's very revealing on the fact that whoever was able to accomplish this exited the back door.
Hoping that someone in the vicinity might have caught a glimpse of the killer, police canvass the area. It doesn't take them long to find a neighbor with some key information.
Ma'am, can you tell me what you saw last night?
Well, last night I was walking my dog, and I walk by this house every night.
When she's out walking her dog, she saw somebody.
She told police that she'd seen a person knocking heavily on the door of LaQuisha and Sterling's home. She said the person had a hoodie on. The hoodie was covering their face. Sterling eventually opened the door, and the person went in.
This raises a lot of questions for the investigators. Who is this guy? Who is this person knocking on the door?
For answers, detectives turn their attention to the distraught family. The victim's mother, Tracy Bush, tells investigators that the family had spent the previous evening together planning their trip.
Everybody seemed in good spirits.
And then what happened?
I brought LaQuisha, Sterling, and my granddaughter home and dropped them off, and that was about 10:30 last night.
LaQuisha and the Sterling's mother had dropped them off about 10:30 in the evening. of the murders.
As investigators know, a neighbor saw an unidentified man in a hooded sweatshirt at the victim's doorstep later that night. But when police press the family for names, the person who comes to mind isn't a man at all.
The family members tell the cops that LaQuisha was having issues with her best friend, Danielle.
LaQuisha and Danielle Grady have been friends since childhood, but recently the two have been going at each other on social media.
Her friend did make some threatening remarks on LaQuisha's Facebook page. All of this happened right before the murders.
In fact, LaQuisha's family says she and Danielle had a run-in just a few days earlier.
LaQuisha, you so stupid. You're constantly begging for money that you can't pay back. You know what? Get out my face.
Her and Danielle ended up getting into an altercation. And it got to the point where, she started talking about her child. And, that's just ground. So, it's just certain stuff you can't say. Well, this just happened like a couple days before. Of course, she's going to go to the top of my list.
So while the coroner removes LaQuisha and Sterling's bodies from the home, police set out to find LaQuisha's frenemy. Investigators can't help but wonder, could it be possible this double homicide was the result of a catfight gone horribly awry?
I was furious because I knew it was too big of a coincidence.
By the evening of January 27, 2011, detectives in Tallahassee already have a suspect on their radar for the brutal double slaying of siblings LaQuisha Herring and Sterling Connor. A former friend and classmate of LaQuisha's named Danielle Grady.
During their investigation, police realized that Danielle and LaQuisha often would have conflicts and issues.
They went to school together. They were arguing a couple days before it happened. Her threatening my sister, saying this and that.
There was direct threats from Danielle to LaQuisha Herring. Next time I see you, I'm gonna beat your ass.
To make threatening comments on LaQuisha's Facebook page, those raised some serious red flags.
The following morning, detectives bring Danielle into an interrogation room where she immediately breaks down.
She felt really bad about what had occurred.
Danielle and LaQuisha's relationship was pretty rocky, I would say. They would get into arguments, and the next minute they'd be back cool.
According to Danielle, their most recent spat had been over $350.
LaQuisha lived with Danielle and her mother for a while.
The disagreement they were having was over rent, and I believe they wanted LaQuisha to pay money. And it just led to an online argument.
So what would have happened if she'd have wanted to fight you?
Well, if she would have came to fight me, then maybe we would have just fought like sisters, because that's what sisters do. We would have made up by now.
Danielle seems genuinely upset, but police wonder if her tears stem from grief or guilt.
$350 might not seem like a lot, but people certainly kill for less.
Is there anyone that can vouch for your whereabouts?
Yeah, my mom. I was home all night. Call my mom.
Danielle was nowhere near the scene of the crime at the time.
Still, detectives aren't willing to eliminate Danielle just yet.
They wonder, is it possible that she put someone else up into it?
That she would have gotten a friend or confidant, a hitman, to execute him on her behalf.
Hoping for proof one way or the other, investigators meet with the Leon County coroner, who has information about the murder weapon.
During an autopsy, they find out that both victims were shot with what's presumed to be the same gun, according to exit wounds, and they believe that gun to be a .38 special.
But what the coroner says next throws the entire investigation into a tailspin.
During the autopsy, they find out that LaQuisha was actually 20 weeks pregnant.
What we had understood had happened was a double homicide, the baby or the pregnancy. Depending on your religious and philosophical views, you made it very close to being a triple homicide.
But as detectives understood it, LaQuisha had terminated her most recent pregnancy. In order to better understand the situation, they bring her mother, Tracy Bush, in for questioning.
From talking to her mother, LaQuisha had gone to 2 different pregnancy help facilities in the weeks that had preceded her death.
She's on the fence about whether or not she should keep the baby or not. She realizes that she is a part of a loving and supportive family, realizes that the baby is a blessing, and decides not to go in with the abortion.
So did LaQuisha know who the baby father was?
Yeah, she knew who the baby's father was. It was her ex, Deshaun Thomas.
Deshaun wanted her to have an abortion. Deshaun actually paid for her to go see one of the abortion clinics in Tallahassee. She did. She went. We've confirmed the dates she went to the abortion clinic. On her own, she went to another clinic, which was a women's help clinic to help you with the pregnancy. She ended up not having the abortion.
So he gives LaQuisha money for an abortion. He asks her, please have an abortion. But her family and LaQuisha decide they want to keep the baby. They want to see what they can do, raise a child, bring another life into this world, which upsets Deshaun.
Could an unwanted pregnancy be the motive detectives have been looking for? Investigators decide it's time to have a word with LaQuisha's former lover. But to the detective's surprise, Deshaun seeks them out first.
Deshaun and his mom come to the sheriff's office to meet us and interview with us.
He says he heard about the murder in the news. He seems distraught.
Deshaun explains that he and LaQuisha were no longer together. In fact, he'd already begun seeing someone else, though he and LaQuisha remained close friends. And he was devastated to learn of her murder.
Deshaun says the first thing he ever knew about the homicide was when his girlfriend at the time called him and said, hey, look at the news.
It's our understanding that you weren't too thrilled about Quisha's pregnancy. Is that true?
I mean, we talked about it. But at the end of the day, I told her I'm going to support whatever decision she wants.
Deshaun also tells investigators he was at work the night of the murder.
He says he was at Taco Bell working till 1 a.m. and that he went home. He ends up passing out.
Can anybody confirm that you were there?
Yeah, you call my manager. I can give you his info.
Next, police ask Deshaun if he's had any tension with LaQuisha's brother Sterling since moving out.
Sterling, that's my homie, man. You know, we've been cool since like middle school. It's like my brother. But lately he been hanging with the wrong people.
What do you mean by hanging with the wrong people?
He's a crab.
There's some words referring to him as a little crab, which has significance in the gang culture.
Crab is slang for Crip. Could LaQuisha and Sterling's murders be gang-related? Before they can answer that question, detectives need to verify Deshaun's alibi. The restaurant manager confirms via Deshaun's timesheet that he was there from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. There's even surveillance footage to prove it. With a solid alibi for Deshaun, police are forced to rethink the case, specifically which victim was the real target.
How much of this truly related to the actual gang activity and not necessary to LaQuisha?
This Visa Crip. Well, then that opens up the entire gang drug dealer world. It's just much more problematic.
Once police start down the road to Tallahassee's seedy gang underworld, an entire new cast of characters emerges.
One thing that's really killing me and my mom right now, my brothers and everybody, they're just like, what have you done?
Obviously, narcotics and gangs begot violence pretty regularly. And there you do have people who will kill on your behalf.
When you see him, you make Suge Knight look small.
48 hours into the murder investigation of siblings LaQuisha Herring and Sterling Connor, police in Tallahassee, Florida have an entirely new angle to explore. Acting on a tip from LaQuisha's ex, Deshaun Thomas, detectives are now considering the possibility that Sterling, an aspiring music producer, may have gotten mixed up with the wrong crowd.
Sterling had had some criminal entanglements, and he had kind of gotten involved in street gangs and drug dealing.
Unfortunately, when you join that type of lifestyle, some people take it a little more seriously than others. And as a result, he probably ended up in a dangerous situation more than he realized until it was too late.
The possibility of a gang connection makes this case much more complicated.
Investigators can't get a panel of Crips and Bloods to come in. They don't talk to law enforcement much. And so they called the gang intelligence people.
While reviewing the case, the gang intelligence officer immediately notices something about ex-boyfriend Deshaun Thomas's interview with detectives.
Deshaun called Sterling a crab. That's gang slang, but it's more than just that.
Those are fighting words. If you walked up to a Crip and called him a crab, get ready to get hit or shot.
Could Deshaun, a working college student and expectant father, have a secret life as a Blood? The Crips' arch-rival gang? It seems the more police dig, the more red flags they uncover.
He had an extensive juvenile record.
He wanted to be the big guy, the one with all the money, you know, the flashy one, the one with all the nice stuff. So he would put on like a show for the public. Like he got all this type of money, want to be the big dope boy, the dope dealer, what you want to call it, or a gang-affiliated person.
Given what investigators now know, they execute a search warrant on the apartment Deshaun has been sharing with fellow fast food employee Tom Ramsey.
Tom's about 6'6", 400 pounds. He makes Suge Knight look small. So when you see him, you think like, man, this dude is a gangster. I'm scared of him. I'm not going to deal with him.
Tom's a scary guy. So police wonder, was it Tom? Who is Tom? How is Tom actually involved in the situation? maybe he had something to do with the murder.
But the search of Tom and Deshawn's apartment yields no evidence linking either of them to the murders. However, detectives don't walk away entirely empty-handed.
They did find a small cannabis plant growing in a closet in Tom's bedroom.
It's enough to arrest Tom on cultivation charges. On January 29th, detectives interrogate 21-year-old Tom Ramsey. It's immediately clear that Big Tom isn't nearly as intimidating as he looks.
He's one of those guys who doesn't have a criminal record, not known for causing trouble or doing anything like that. What do we call a sweet young man?
I can get ready to have a heart attack or something, man.
No, don't do that. You're fine. You're fine.
The roommate was terrified.
And not just because he's facing minor drug charges. Tom has a confession about the night of January 26th, one that begins when Deshawn returns home from work at 1:30 a.m.
Hey, bro, I need you to take me for a ride real quick.
He come banging on my room door talking to him. Come on, bro, come on. I want you to ride with me. And I mean, I was like, I'm kind of tired right now.
According to Tom, Deshawn needed a companion for a drug deal, and he eventually convinced his roommate to ride shotgun.
Did he say anything before that? He gonna go see Sterling, or he gonna go talk to
The only thing he told me before then, like, bro, I'm supposed to go see.
Right.
What's her name?
LaQuisha.
Tom says they drove to LaQuisha's townhouse. Once there, Deshawn told Tom to wait in the car.
At that time, he did go to the back of the trunk. I'm not knowing what he was getting out of there, but he went back of there.
According to Tom, Deshawn knocked on LaQuisha's front door, and Sterling let him in. A few minutes later, Deshawn emerged from LaQuisha's backyard and headed back to the car. That's when Tom realized this wasn't a normal drug deal.
You all right?
I'm straight, man.
Deshawn Thomas gets in the car, and he says he looks like a ghost. He said he just looked pale.
He was shaking and pale as a ghost and told him that it ain't what it looks like in the movies.
He was huffing and puffing and looking sweaty and stuff.
Like he was in trouble.
Like a little child in trouble.
What do you have in his hand then?
He had nothing in his hand. He had the little black hoodie on. I remember he had a little black hoodie on that night.
Tom also tells investigators that the incident jogged his memory about something Deshawn said to him a few weeks earlier.
It was like, she said she's gonna be pregnant, you know what I'm saying? She might have my child.
Right.
He clearly did not want that pregnancy to go through. He didn't want to have to pay for the baby. He didn't want to have a child.
Tom tells police that after they left LaQuisha's townhouse, Deshawn drove to a nearby dumpster.
Tom doesn't know what's going on. He stopped by a dumpster, and he remembers Deshawn putting something in the dumpster.
Investigators wonder if Deshawn is the shooter. Had he disposed of the murder weapon in the dumpster Tom Ramsey is describing?
You to show us which one of these that he was messing around with.
Yeah, I can take a ride if I want to.
We go and look in dumpsters trying to find the murder weapon. We never do.
Though investigators suspect Tom Ramsey is telling the truth, his statement alone isn't proof that Deshawn Thomas was at LaQuisha's home at the time of the murders.
Obviously, we got some pretty good evidence, but this was coming from a fairly bad guy in his own right. So I couldn't base that purely on his word. It just wasn't worth much at face value. So we began an investigation to go ahead and corroborate the truth of this attempt.
But just then, CSIs informed detectives that they finally unlocked LaQuisha's cell phone they recovered at the scene. The phone contains a series of friendly text messages between Deshawn and LaQuisha, messages that seem to support Deshawn's claim that he and LaQuisha remained friends even after they split up. But it's the string of texts that occurred shortly before the murders that catches investigators' attention.
They make plans to actually, through text messages, they say, hey, listen, I want you to come by later, let's hang out.
Police in Tallahassee, Florida are investigating the shooting deaths of LaQuisha Herring and her brother Sterling Connor. Now, less than a week after the murders, investigators are closing in on a possible prime suspect. A statement from Tom Ramsey has placed Deshawn Thomas, LaQuisha's ex-boyfriend and the father of her unborn child, at LaQuisha's residence the night of the double murder.
After getting off work, Deshawn goes home, convinces his roommate Tom to ride over to LaQuisha and Sterling's house.
Tom told police that he was with Deshawn when he drove over to Sterling and LaQuisha's home.
In addition to the statement from Tom Ramsey, LaQuisha's cell phone records reveal she and Deshawn had been in contact prior to the shooting.
There were text messages going between LaQuisha and Deshaun during the night.
They make plans to actually, through text messages, they say, hey, listen, I want you to come by later. Let's hang out and talk about what's going on, what their plans are for the future, and what they're going to do about this child.
The text had started with flirtatious jokes about the drama between LaQuisha and Danielle.
Deshaun and Lakeisha had a text about why Danielle snapped at her.
So they're kind of making light of the situation, laughing about it.
But as detectives pour through their texts, it seems Deshaun wasn't just interested in LaQuisha's whereabouts that night.
He kept asking about where Sterling was, when Sterling was going to be home.
Actually, the last communication that we have for LaQuisha is sending out Sterling's here a little after 1 o'clock in the morning.
Could the text mean that Deshaun was hoping to catch LaQuisha alone? Or was he asking about his old friend for an entirely different reason?
There was some evidence that we found that suggested that Deshaun was a confirmed member of the Bloods.
They find out that Sterling may have actually been a member of the Crips before he became a member of the Bloods, which is a heinous offense. It's punishable by death.
There was some information about him flying the wrong flag, which means wearing the wrong color. There was some information that he had perhaps been a double agent and had flipped from being a Blood to a Crip.
Detectives now believe Deshaun Thomas may have had a double motive for the murders.
You had a 20-year-old female who was pregnant with a child of his that he didn't want her to have. You have her brother who he says he just swore into a gang that wasn't repping the gang correctly.
This was basically a murder of two birds with one stone.
But what about Deshaun's alibi? Time cards and surveillance video clearly place him at work the night of the murders.
We knew that we had him locked in at Taco Bell till almost 1 o'clock.
But when detectives compare the time cards and surveillance video against the coroner's official estimated time of death, they realize there's a window where Deshaun is unaccounted for.
I knew it was a Taco Bell, and based on the timing, we knew that LaQuisha's parents, LaQuisha and Sterling's mother, had dropped them off about 10:30 in the evening of the murder. So I know she's alive then. Then we have the discovery, which is after dawn the next morning when her mother comes over once again to pick them up. So I had a window there.
Detectives decide the only way to pinpoint Deshaun's exact whereabouts at the time of the murder is to pull his phone records and those of his roommate, Tom Ramsey.
So we were following cell phones around town, and we can put both cell phones at certain places where both Tom and Deshaun are, and they go all the way to the scene of the homicide.
Deshaun's initial account was that he was not there. He said, I was at work that night. I went home and went to bed. So there'd be an inconsistency there.
That's when DNA results come in. Deshaun is confirmed to be the father of the unborn child. But that's not all.
The DNA cells that were left on the back door actually matched Deshaun.
Since Deshaun had lived at the townhouse while he and LaQuisha were dating, the DNA evidence at the scene is not exactly a smoking gun.
But now the question comes into play, are they recent? How long have they been there?
Luckily, police have one more witness who may offer insight into Deshaun, his current girlfriend, Barbara.
Barbara did admit to investigators that she knew Deshaun was involved in gang activities.
He's one of those guys, had he really truly applied himself, he could have done anything. He could have been a doctor, a lawyer. Instead, he's more focused on being a gang member, aspiring to be a gang leader, especially in the neighborhoods where you get some type of notoriety for being gang affiliated.
When police asked Barbara if she'd ever seen her boyfriend with a firearm of his own, she says she had. Until recently, he'd kept a handgun at her house.
She mentioned a gun that she said Deshaun kept under a chair.
Although a .38 never was actually found as a murder weapon, police believe the .38 was used as the official murder weapon in the crime against Sterling as well as LaQuisha.
Police believe they finally have enough evidence to arrest Deshaun Thomas. And on February 7th, 2011, they charged Deshaun with double murder.
When I heard that he got arrested, at first, I didn't know what to think. My brother and sister, they were good people. They didn't deserve what happened to him, but I felt like he got what he deserved.
But with no smoking gun and Deshaun refusing to plea bargain, the case heads to trial, where conviction will rely heavily on the testimony of one key witness, Tom Ramsey.
Tom was essential to this case. Was roommate with the defendant, worked with the defendant, was with the defendant when he committed the homicide, although he was in the car. Could we have prosecuted without him? Yes. It would have been very difficult.
But before the trial ever begins, investigators get wind of another murder plot. And if they can't stop it, their case will be dead on arrival, along with their star witness.
You got somebody who's talking about killing someone else. Public safety is still my first concern. We started taking lots of safety precautions.
In June of 2012, Leon County prosecutors await the trial of 18-year-old Deshaun Thomas for the murders of his pregnant ex-girlfriend, LaQuisha Herring, and her brother, alleged gang member, Sterling Connor.
That was my first time ever hearing about my brother being in a gang. So it was pretty shocking to me.
The most shocking thing about this case is seeing how someone who could murder someone they love, that they said that they loved, that they were having a baby with, not only that, but kill someone over a alleged gang affiliation.
Deshaun's cell phone records, coupled with the eyewitness testimony of Deshaun's roommate, Tom Ramsey, has given prosecutors the evidence they feel warrants a conviction, assuming Tom Ramsey plays ball on the witness stand.
From the case's inception, it largely was linked to him testifying. I felt like I had enough evidence with the roommate.
But just before the case heads to trial, a single phone call threatens to derail the proceedings.
I was sitting at my desk one day, actually, and just received an anonymous call that I needed to go speak to an inmate at the Leon County Jail.
The caller claims to be a former cellmate of Deshaun Thomas, who's been released on bond.
Deshaun's locked up. He's sending letters to this other gang member.
Prosecutors immediately set up a meeting with the witness.
The guy comes in and he's nervous. He doesn't want to be a jailhouse snitch. He's terrified in the situation. And he actually pulls the letters out of his pants. I mean, he just throws them on the table.
But the letters are gibberish to authorities, written in a code known only to sworn members of the Bloods.
After we intercepted the first letter from Deshaun out to our witness, we read it. It's nothing but gibberish to us. We worked on it for a while. There was 5 or 6 of us in an office working, trying to figure out what this code is. So we created a little cheat sheet for each of us, sat down at a desk with these letters that we've received, and we broke down the letters, and each of us had sentences we had to interpret. And we figured out what the code was.
Once investigators crack the code and read Deshaun's letters, they're floored.
He's trying to get Tom killed.
Prosecutors ask the former inmate who Deshaun had enlisted to carry out this crime. He explains that Deshaun wanted him to take care of the hit personally.
Deshaun saw the elimination of the roommate as critical to him avoiding a murder conviction, and that he wanted to use the blood resources enterprise to go and kill the roommate. And my witness was going to help facilitate that.
Prosecutors take the threat very seriously.
He's willing to kill the mother of his child so that he doesn't have a child, that he doesn't, instead of having an abortion, because she decides not to have an abortion, he'll certainly kill a roommate. To have him killed would be horrific in its own right, but also would be detrimental in my case.
Prosecutors know that in order for the coded letter to be admissible in court, they'll need to prove Deshaun is the true author. They ask the inmate to return a letter to Deshaun, one that spells out details of the hit on Tom Ramsey, and requires a clear-cut response from Deshaun.
We gave him a notepad and a pen, put him in an interview room. We actually recorded him writing these letters and let him sit down. It took at least an hour plus for him to write a full-length letter back to Deshaun, replying to the ones that we had intercepted.
We got him to flesh out in his own hand, this is what I want you to do, this is how I want you to do it.
The plan works. Not only has the plan to murder Tom Ramsey been thwarted, but new conspiracy charges have been levied against Deshaun. And since Deshaun has turned 18 since first being indicted for murder, the presiding judge ups the stakes.
We now have a punishable by life felony as an adult.
Deshaun's trial begins on October 15th, 2013. The prosecution opens by painting Deshaun as a cold-blooded killer.
Deshaun came in the house. They're just at home, a regular night.
What you getting into tonight?
Man, I'm just coolin', man. You out here chilling?
Deshaun shot LaQuisha first.
Wait! Bro, what are you...
And then immediately shot Sterling. Neither of the siblings had a chance to move. They are in their own home, and then all of a sudden, they're dead.
He literally just sitting there on the couch talking to him, shoots her, and then gets up, stands over him and shoots him and walks out the door. It was that quick.
And the motive, prosecutors say, was twofold.
You all right?
I'm straight, man.
Didn't want to have a child. He tried to get her to have an abortion. When she refused, he made the decision to take care of the matter himself.
Deshaun actually had blood ties and affiliation, and he was under the impression that he inducted Sterling, which was LaQuisha's brother, into the blood organization when he was actually already a Crip. And according to their particular bylaws, that's an offense worse than death, so therefore he had to die because of that.
To bolster that theory, prosecutors called Deshaun's former roommate, Tom Ramsey, to the stand to testify.
This guy was with the murderer to and from the scene. I needed to suggest and to convince the jury that they could find truth in this roommate.
Tom's testimony comes off as credible, but on cross-examination, the defense asserts that Tom has his own motives for testifying.
Tom had the marijuana charge where they were cultivating marijuana in the house. And there was the possibility, you have accessory after the fact. He honed in on the only reason Tom talked was because Tom got in trouble, was trying to get himself out of trouble.
The defense also relies on the testimony of the neighbor who had seen a man in a dark hoodie outside Sterling and LaQuisha's home. It seems this neighbor had witnessed Sterling letting the man in at around 11 p.m., a time when Deshaun is confirmed to have been at work.
And the defense actually grabs onto that and says, maybe that was the killer. Maybe someone showed up before he did. Who was that person?
After taking aim at the state's star witness, the defense calls a star witness of their own. On October 17th, with emotions in the courtroom running high, Deshaun Thomas takes the stand in his own defense.
There was one point during the trial we had to take a break. He became emotional and started crying.
After regaining composure, Deshaun admits he knew about the hit on Tom Ramsey, but he says it was to avenge the deaths of LaQuisha and Sterling.
Deshaun says Tom was the one who went out on the streets, took his phone. He had Deshaun's phone with all of the contacts. And so therefore, Tom was the one who went out instead to make the drug deals while Deshaun stayed home, passed out.
Deshaun's story is certainly plausible. After all, both phones had been pinging near the townhouse at the same time. But on cross, the prosecution points to one flaw in Deshaun's version of events.
One text message in particular kind of throws that whole thing through a loop. And it's a message that's from Deshaun's phone to Tom's phone.
There was a text that said, "Is it safe to cross?" soon after the murders took place.
It's absurd to suggest that, that he would be sitting there texting himself, "Is the coast clear?"
The jury agrees. After only 4 hours of deliberation, on October 18th, 2013, they convict Deshaun Thomas on all counts.
They came back with guilty as charged.
It was a big weight lifted off my shoulders because it's like, okay, you can't do no more harm than you've already did to this family.
The sentence was life imprisonment,
which many say is a fitting punishment for a young man that wrought so much pain.
You have a young family that now no longer has a brother, no longer has a sister, no longer has a mother, not to mention a fetus that doesn't even have a chance to have a good life. To be taken away all because of petty jealousy or because you can't handle certain responsibility.
At the end of the day, they didn't deserve this. It's sad on its own. Both of them, they had so much potential. We can't fill that void. But, the memories that we do have, they'll live on.
We who live in the world don't want to believe that there's that level of evil. We want to believe that they've got horns and a tail, but they don't. They look just like you and me.
She was a single woman, new to the City of Angels.
She was a lovely woman, looking for something new in her life. Her sister moved out here to pursue her dream of making it as an actress, and it wasn't long before Leslie followed her sister down here.
He was a hard-working college recruiter that gave her a second chance at romance.
She sees Lyle Herring, and it's almost magical.
The chemistry was electric, and they really seemed to heat things up in the bedroom.
They had never experienced anything like this before.
But on a warm winter day in 2009, their passionate ride took a dark turn.
There's no blood in the apartment. There's no signs of a struggle. So it's really just a case of two people have just vanished into thin air.
Her family is desperate for answers.
In order to unravel this mystery, detectives will have to travel a strange and twisted road. A journey that will take them across international boundaries, where dangers abound and the truth about what happened may never be fully known.
I would describe his cooperation as fragmented and less than helpful.
It was sick, it was evil, and it was wrong.
Oh my God. There still has to be some lack of closure for the family.
For Hollywood actress Asha Davis, starring in extraordinary plot-twisting stories is nothing new. But on February 10th, 2009, this former star of Friday Night Lights finds herself embroiled in a real-life mystery. It begins with an unexpected phone call.
Hello?
Asha, this is Robert Jones. I work with your sister, Leslie.
Yes.
Have you seen or talked to Leslie lately? She hasn't shown up for work for the past 2 days.
What?
Asha immediately knew that something was wrong. That just wasn't Leslie. Leslie was very dependable and very reliable.
I'll check to see what's going on.
She thought, of course, that's very unusual for Leslie because Leslie's the type of person that would call in sick, and let you know what's going on.
Fearing the worst, Asha contacts her mother, Vivian, in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Mom.
Have you talked to Leslie?
No, I haven't talked to her in a couple of days.
Strange. Her job just called and said she's been out of work for the last 2 days.
Leslie called her mom every day, regardless of what was going on. So she hasn't done any of the things she would normally do. So this would sound an alarm for anyone, I think.
That's really strange. That doesn't sound like her.
You know what? I'm going to go check on her. But that doesn't sound like Leslie.
You let me know what you find out, okay, honey?
Panicked, Asha and her husband Jesse drive to Leslie's condo in the Hollywood Hills.
They're calling the house, they're calling her cell phone. They're worried that she's gotten sick, she had a problem with migraines. Maybe she's just so ill that she can't even use the phone.
When they get to the Hollywood Hills condominium, they notice that her car is in the lot. So that's a hopeful sign. All right, she gets migraines. Let's just go knock on the door and find out.
Leslie!
Leslie! Leslie!
Calling the police? Yeah, you should. Asha called the police and they met him there and they forced entry and went in.
Leslie!
There was nobody home.
Leslie!
Wait, right here.
There's no real evidence of foul play. There's no blood. There's no witnesses of any kind.
They went in, they saw that everything looked normal.
But as officers search Leslie's condo for clues, they quickly discover not everything is as it appears. And the villain in this Hollywood mystery is as real and as terrifying as any bad guy you'd see on the silver screen.
I think everyone was stunned when the truth came out. It was just impossible to believe.
Leslie Telford was born in the small South American nation of Guyana in 1964. The oldest of 3 children, Leslie grew up in a loving home, surrounded by those she most adored.
Leslie kind of played the role of surrogate mother to her little sister, Asha.
Leslie was this person who had this big smile and warm demeanor. She made friends easily and she kept them.
Growing up, she had dreams of seeing the world and taking advantage of every opportunity life had to offer.
She graduated from high school in Barbados and then went to university in Canada. After college, she went to Paris and then moved to Maryland. Leslie was well-educated and well-traveled.
While Leslie bounced around the globe, her younger sister Asha had big dreams of her own.
Asha always had sort of like a little bit of the glitz in her eyes about becoming a Hollywood actress. And so she came out here to Los Angeles to pursue her career, which was, really great. There's 1,000 Ashas that show up in LA every day. And she just happened to be one of those people who actually got her break in television.
Asha's had roles on Grey's Anatomy and several other TV shows like Gilmore Girls and on Friday Night Lights.
She was really doing well. And her older sister Leslie is thinking, I think my sister's really liking it out there. Why not head to Los Angeles and try to pursue a life of my own?
So in the winter of 1997, Leslie packed her bags and headed to Hollywood.
She seemed to have taken on a lot of the sort of maternal instincts that an older sister might take over. And so it was no surprise that when her younger sister came to Los Angeles to pursue acting and entertainment, that she followed to stay connected to her family, which she was very close to, but then also to build a separate personal life for herself here in LA.
Leslie had gotten a job in the payroll department of a home security company. She was perfectly happy with that. People liked her. She was a great storyteller, made a lot of friends. People loved working for her.
It was kind of like a quote unquote boring office job, which might have been a little bit different for her, but she loved the job at the same time.
Things are going well for Leslie. She's living in the same city as her sister. She has a good job. It really seemed like everything was possible for her.
Then one day in 1998, Leslie's sweet new life in LA got a whole lot sweeter.
So she's in a store and she sees Lyle Herring, and it's almost magical.
They just met there one day and they hit it off.
Well, I like those. Those will look great on you.
I mean,
Oh, I like these.
Lyle Herring was a very responsible, hardworking, interesting guy with a lot of charisma.
So where you from?
I'm not from here. I just moved out here.
Okay. Why don't you let me take you on a tour of LA?
Sure, I like that.
He was very charming, very sweet, and they really just connected.
Lyle was a normal guy. He wasn't a Hollywood guy. He worked at a college, and there he acted as a recruiter in the college.
To us.
To us.
But Lyle's greatest recruiting mission was reserved for Leslie. Over the next year, he wined and dined her, showing Leslie everything sunny LA had to offer.
He said to her, Leslie, let me be your tour guide in Los Angeles. There's a great lifestyle here, and I'm going to show you the way. Who could have said no to that? Plus, he was charming and attractive.
Both of them seemed head over heels. It seemed like it was just a lot of fun, a lot of joy. They had never experienced anything like this before. I think for the both of them, it went faster than any relationship normally would go. And definitely, Leslie seemed just head over heels, over the top in love with this man.
Their courtship was definitely a whirlwind. Then the proposal happened very fast, and the next thing everybody knew, she was married and had met him under a year prior.
After tying the knot, Lyle and Leslie settled into a beautiful apartment in the Tony Hollywood Hills. And over the next decade, the couple built a dream life for themselves.
This is a Hollywood fairy tale. She's happy in a marriage. She has a good job. From all outward appearances, it seems that it was just the right decision for Leslie to move to Los Angeles.
This was a perfect all-American couple.
While all of this is happening for Leslie, Asha is also lucky in love. She and her husband, Jesse, have a new child. And so it would seem for the two sisters, life is good.
But in February of 2009, things take a disturbing turn when Leslie suddenly vanishes.
This is a shock to everyone. The world seemed to be perfect for Leslie. And then everything came crashing down.
In 2009, 44-year-old Leslie Herring and her husband Lyle appeared to be living the good life in LA's Hollywood Hills.
They spent a lot of time together. They met each other's families very early on. They were constantly seen together, completing each other's sentences.
But on February 10th, 2009, Leslie and Lyle's lives were turned upside down.
Her last day of work was a Friday. Everything was normal. And Monday, she didn't show up for work. So Tuesday, Leslie's work phoned Asha. So Asha and her husband went to Leslie's condominium. She wanted to make sure she was okay. So she went up and knocked on the door, but got no answer. The door was locked. She called the police, and they met him there. They forced entry and went in. They didn't find any evidence of any obvious crime. There was nobody home.
Cleared the rest of the house. That's all good. Yeah, there's no sign of forced entry. Okay.
And then Asha did what any sister or concerned family member would do. She tried to reach out to Lyle.
No answer. Going straight to voicemail.
There was concern that her own husband was not only unavailable to explain, but he was missing himself. So at first it seemed as if they both vanished without any answers.
So then it became, well, what has happened to the both of them? You know, have they been robbed? Have they been kidnapped?
Asha files a missing persons report, and it isn't long before Los Angeles detective Chris Gable and his partner arrive at the scene.
It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condominium with a living room and kitchen in the center. The only thing we noticed out of place was there was some spilt candle wax on the kitchen counter. Aside from that, it was very clean.
While there's no evidence of foul play, it does appear someone had been at the residence relatively recently.
We were just trying to find something that would indicate the last time someone was in that condominium. In both bathrooms, I noticed an unusual amount of towels hanging over the showers, as if like a flood or some sort of a big leak was sopped up, and the towels looked like they were just thrown over to dry.
Now, that seems rather odd, but anyone who's had a bad leak in the bathroom knows that this is what you do. You head for the closet for towels, and you try to mop up the water, and you let them hang to dry. So at this point, it wasn't necessarily a big red flag.
But beyond a few wet towels, nothing else seems out of the ordinary.
There's very little for the cops to go on as to what happened. There's no forced entries, no burglaries, no foul play. It's just pieces of an ever-growing puzzle. They both vanished without any answers.
Outside the Herring's condo, investigators make a discovery that adds another layer of mystery to the case.
They found Leslie's car parked outside her condo.
We opened the trunk, and inside of the trunk was her wallet, her keys, her cell phone, with all of her credit cards in it. And so it looked like her day-to-day property was left behind.
They actually do find Leslie's current bag, the one that she was carrying every day with her to work, with everything in it. It's a very odd situation.
While Leslie's car is accounted for, her husband Lyle's is nowhere to be found. On February 12th, Detective Gable and his team issue a statewide alert for Leslie, Lyle, and the missing vehicle.
Police don't know whether they're together in the car, where they might have gone, or if something bad has happened to them.
And when they pull the couple's cell phone records, they make an interesting discovery.
We pinged their phones. Lyle's phone last pinged down by the Long Beach airport. So we contacted the Long Beach airport to see if maybe they flew out. They had not. We checked with the Department of State to see if their passports were used.
They check all the local hospitals. They check coroner's reports. Even the U.S.-Mexico border, then that's when they know they have to put the bolo out.
What do you think?
Yeah, that works bad.
While police are working round the clock to find Leslie and Lyle, her sister Asha is conducting an investigation of her own.
Asha and her husband, with their new baby, are doing the things you'd think to do. They're making phone calls. They're calling friends. They're calling the house. They're calling her cell phone. They're calling her husband, Lyle. Then they go to places. They start looking.
This is a woman who loved her sister, would do anything for her. Now she's desperate to find her.
Hello?
But just when all hope seems lost, Asha receives some potentially good news.
Really? Well, that's great.
We found her purse. Inside of her purse, we found a Starbucks receipt for that Monday.
Something else very potentially significant. That receipt was dated the day after Leslie went missing.
All right, well, thank you.
Who was that?
The police, they found the receipt. They traced it.
She's around. She's around somewhere. She bought a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
They traced the receipt back to the store, and they're on their way to the location.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's go post these.
Yeah.
Now, that Starbucks receipt gives them some hope because they know that they can go to Starbucks and hopefully get some security footage. The security footage might show Leslie.
Police used the Starbucks receipt they found in Leslie's purse and tracked it to a store just a few miles from her condo.
So what investigators wanted to do was get the security footage and see if it was Leslie who purchased this drink.
They go to the Starbucks, they ask for surveillance footage, and it's unbelievable what they see on this tape. The person purchasing that cup of coffee at that very moment is not Leslie Herring. The person purchasing the cup of coffee is Lyle Herring. It's a shock. The last thing that police were expecting to find.
It's irrefutable proof that Lyle is the one who purchased the drink. He's there with his signature dreads. He's easily identifiable.
Police now want to figure out, how did that receipt end up in Leslie's purse? Was she waiting for him outside in a car? And she picked up the receipt and put it in her purse?
On the surface, this is promising. It's putting the detectives one step closer to finding Lyle and Leslie. But it doesn't explain where they are now and what happened to them between their visit to Starbucks and their disappearance. This is a legitimate mystery.
So what's the plan, baby?
I don't know.
Increasingly desperate to find her sister and brother-in-law, Asha decides to mount a stakeout in front of their condominium complex.
I just need something. I need to see something. Maybe he'll come home, maybe not.
They're sort of waiting outside of the condominium, hoping that they'll see something that will relieve their fears. And while they're sitting there waiting, Asha and Jesse notice a car.
Wait, oh my God.
What?
Look, down the street.
In February of 2009, police in Los Angeles found themselves embroiled in a mysterious missing persons case.
Both Leslie Herring and her husband Lyle have gone missing. A Starbucks receipt places Lyle and potentially Leslie at a coffee shop after she was last seen, but nobody knows where she is now.
It looked like something was amiss, and there was no contact with Lyle so far, and obviously no contact with Leslie. So The possibility is where maybe something bad happened. We don't know. But then again, they hang out with each other. He's got an SUV. Maybe they're just on a road trip. We don't know.
Anxious to unravel the mystery behind the disappearance of her sister Leslie Herring and Leslie's husband Lyle, actress Asha Davis and her husband Jesse have decided to stake out their condo.
Maybe she'll come home.
Maybe.
Their first plan is to just wait to see if there would be any kind of traffic or activity.
Oh my God.
What?
Look, get in our way.
Is that him?
The vehicle that matched the description of Lyle's vehicle did pull up, but before it could turn into the driveway, it pulled out and drove off in the other direction. So they figured, okay, maybe that wasn't really his car.
That looked like his car.
Does look like his car.
So they immediately got on the phone to call him to see if that was him, but his phone went straight to voicemail.
Tell me I'm not crazy. That looked like his car.
It looks like his car, but can't see who's driving though. There's a lot of cars like that.
Maybe so.
They thought, well, there's a lot of Mitsubishi Monteras. It must not have been Lyle's. They had their little baby in the back seat of the car. They had to go home and tend to the baby, so that's what they did.
Asha was really just falling apart, especially because, Leslie was pretty much like a mother to her. And there's just really not a lot of hope out there. It's very difficult for her.
The mystery only deepens 6 days later when Asha receives a bizarre phone call.
Hello?
Asha, it's Malcolm.
Need to talk to you about Lyle.
Okay.
Malcolm is Lyle's cousin, and he tells her about this very strange incident that he's had with Lyle.
He said that Lyle had called him that Monday. He seemed very nervous, very upset. The next day they got together at Lyle's storage unit, and Lyle wanted to give all of his office supplies to Malcolm, which was very strange.
So Malcolm is following Lyle when Lyle suddenly makes a really, really abrupt turn, and he goes not into the driveway of his own building, but he goes into a parking garage that's underneath.
So that was kind of odd. And then when Lyle popped into Malcolm's car to go to dinner, things got even stranger.
What's up, man? What are you doing sitting in the back seat?
There's some people out there. I don't want to see me.
What?
I owe them some money.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man, let's go. You know how it go.
You always got something going on.
Malcolm's very nervous about that, but he drives to Denny's, and after the dinner, Malcolm took him back to his condominium and then went home.
This is really bizarre behavior. Malcolm didn't know whether he had a gambling debt, maybe he had a drug problem, or maybe he owed money to some bad people. This was something that was finally catching up with him.
But listening to Malcolm's story, Asha comes to another conclusion.
A light goes on in Asha's head and she's thinking, now wait a minute. This sounds like it would have been around the same time that Jesse and I are parked there waiting for someone to come home. That must have been us that he saw.
And this is enough for Asha to go back to the police department and say, okay, he's not missing. He came to the apartment and he's deliberately avoiding us. Something's not right here.
The LAPD decide, we agree, it's time to really get going on this. This is more than just a missing persons case.
But as Detective Chris Gable and his colleagues move full force into the investigation, they have to consider every possibility.
Maybe Lyle was trying to avoid someone other than Asha the night he drove back to his condo. Maybe he was having money issues and someone was really out to get him.
Something's going on. Why is he hiding? What is he hiding from them? Has he done something? Did they do something to him? Are they after him?
At that time, I didn't know for sure.
Hoping to narrow down the possibilities, Detective Gable and his men questioned family and friends about the couple's relationship.
They were happy. They had good careers. They lived in a very nice place just north of Hollywood in the hills.
Everyone has only good things to say about Leslie and Lyle. Everyone, that is, but Leslie's mother, Vivian.
She and Lyle were not getting along at all.
Through their mother, we learned that there was a lot of turmoil within the relationship.
I think she had gotten to the point where she just couldn't take it anymore. She was talking about leaving.
Leslie had been talking to her mother for some time about how unhappy she had become in the relationship and possibly considering seriously leaving the relationship with Lyle.
According to Leslie's mother, Vivian, a lot of her daughter's frustration with Lyle centered around money.
She was very responsible with money, and she never believed in having credit beyond your means.
But Leslie's mother tells Detective Gable that Lyle didn't share her daughter's frugal approach to the family finances.
She was very concerned with Lyle and how things were going, especially financially.
He has an addiction to businesses, much like a gambler has addiction to gambling. He's started several businesses, mostly in the financial loan departments. And unfortunately for him, they all failed. They failed miserably to the tune of really going into deep debt. But he couldn't stop himself, and he kept trying over and over again. And he did a lot of this secretly without Leslie knowing the details about it.
It was to the point that he was actually stealing from his own wife. He forged her own name on some credit card stuff to take large sums of money.
Ultimately, Leslie found out about Lyle's credit card schemes.
Leslie confided in her mother that a creditor came to her place of work and let her know that she was approximately $50,000 in debt on a credit card, which she had no knowledge of even opening. She later found out that her husband opened it and forged her signature, and that really pushed her over the edge.
But rather than filing for divorce, Leslie pursued a different course of action.
Her mother claims Leslie had been seeking out assistance from individuals who could help her sort of go underground, basically separate herself and disappear from Lyle's life.
Leslie had told her how she thought of like living off the grid and just getting away from it all, not contacting or talking to her family and friends, and that she may have made contact with people who could help her do that. That is a big warning sign that something's really not right. I'm concerned about abuse. I'm concerned about violence. I'm concerned about physical stuff. That's such an extreme measure. Who does that?
Though the idea that Leslie and Lyle's relationship had turned physically violent is disturbing, detectives see a ray of hope in Vivian's story.
Police are hoping that maybe she made a clean break and went off the grid. And if that's the case, Leslie could still be alive and just doesn't want to be found.
It just seemed like with every new development, the case became more confounding, whether she was dead or alive. The biggest question was, where is Leslie?
It's a question that in the coming days will take detectives south of the border and face to face with a nearly unrecognizable piece to this puzzle.
This could be the break. This could answer all their questions.
For the past 7 days, police in Los Angeles have been searching for missing Hollywood Hills couple Leslie and Lyle Herring.
They really did look like a very happy, typical couple, but if you peel away the layers, they had some problems.
According to Leslie's mom, Vivian, they were not getting along, and her daughter was even planning on leaving her husband.
This couple was having some serious money problems, and maybe more money problems than Leslie even realized, because Lyle apparently was in debt. It was to the point that he was actually stealing from his own wife. He forged her own name on some credit card stuff to take large sums of money.
Then on February 19th, 2009, police receive an unusual call from U.S. Customs officers.
Around 11 o'clock at night, we got the phone call that there was a bolo hit down at the border of Mexico at the San Ysidro border. Lyle was stopped coming back into the United States.
Detective Gable and 2 fellow investigators immediately head down to the border. There, they find themselves face to face with Lyle Herring.
The first thing we noticed is that he had changed his appearance quite dramatically. Lyle, for many, many years, had long dreadlock hair and a goatee. When we saw him at the border, he had his goatee shaved off and all of his hair shaved off.
Other than his new look, Lyle appears unharmed. But what detectives want to know is, where is his wife, Leslie?
Do you have any idea where your wife is?
Reports to the police that he and Leslie have indeed been having problems and had a falling out of disagreement and argument.
The last time he saw Leslie was the weekend before she went missing. He said they had an argument early Sunday morning and that she got up and she left and she never came back.
Where do you think she went? I have no idea. She ever done this before? She takes off.
Oh, so this is not unusual for him. He told us that Leslie and he had planned a trip to Rosarito, Mexico for Valentine's Day. And he said that he had went down there to look for the places where she might be.
Are you worried about Leslie?
I am.
How's your relationship with her?
I love her. I miss her.
He was very concerned about her. So he went to Mexico looking for her because he thought she went on vacation without him. Got upset and she was going down to their spot, wherever that was. And he was going to see if she was down there.
He almost invites them to check the cell phone records to substantiate the fact that he was actually trying to reach out and find his missing wife.
Lyle's corporation suggests that he is telling the truth, and he did seem genuinely worried about his wife.
After questioning Lyle for 2 hours, detectives decide to release him. But before they do, they ask Lyle one final question.
Why'd you cut your hair? I didn't cut it. What's that?
He told us that he owed some gangsters some money and that the gangsters held him down. They cut his dreadlocks off. They shaved him, and they said next time they're going to cut him.
They're bad dudes, are they?
For a seasoned detective like Chris Gable, Lyle's story sounds a little far-fetched.
Never have I ever heard of any gangster holding someone down and giving them a haircut because they owed money.
So even though this is a very, very fishy story, the detectives really don't have anything to hold Lyle on. So they have to let him go and just keep investigating.
Earlier, Leslie's mother had told police that her daughter may have purposely disappeared in an effort to get away from Lyle. But in the days that follow, Detective Gable finds nothing to substantiate that story.
Supposedly it's a place where battered women go, and in this underground, she can start a whole new life. I could never find it.
But in a case where nothing is what it appears to be, detectives can't help but wonder, what if Lyle really did cross paths with the wrong men?
We tried to explore the idea that perhaps he did owe money to some bad people and they did something bad, perhaps kidnap Leslie to ransom for money or something like that. We looked through all of his paperwork, all of his documents, any contact that we could to see if there was any kind of activity like that. And there was nothing that indicated that he was doing any business with anyone other than legitimate financial institutions. And they typically don't kidnap people to get their money back.
For Detective Gable, it's time to bring in another top cop to help break the case. LA police dog, Indiana Bones.
Indiana Bones has a nose like no other.
This is a case for Sherlock Holmes or Perry Mason. And if there's a body to be found, Indiana Bones is going to find it. But if there's an ounce of hope that Leslie is still alive, we don't want to find a body. This will only increase the family's nightmare.
On February 19, 2009, missing man Lyle Herring was found crossing the border from Mexico back to California.
Detectives are hoping that finding Lyle will lead them to Leslie. But after talking with him, they're no closer to finding her.
Lyle actually tells the detectives that he was in Mexico actually looking for his wife. He knew she had gone missing. He was very concerned about her. And they had some plans, he says, for Valentine's Day. And those plans were to go down to Mexico. So he went to Mexico looking for her, I guess because maybe he thought she went on vacation without him.
He also said some bad men were after him because he owed money. So investigators fear that perhaps Leslie had become entangled in Lyle's mess.
Police had nothing to substantiate his claim, but with no body and no evidence, there was no proof that Leslie was either dead or alive.
I was becoming suspicious at this point that something bad had happened.
Detective Gable decides it's time to execute a search warrant on Lyle's SUV.
When we searched the vehicle, we recovered invoices that had piled up during his travels the time he was missing.
At first glance, the search turns up no evidence of Leslie. So Detective Gable brings in world-famous cadaver dog, Indiana Bones.
This is a dog that is trained to smell decomposing human remains and basically tell you whether or not remains have ever been in that car.
Indy's nose doesn't pick up on anything, at least not until she heads to the rear of the vehicle.
The cadaver dog alerted toward the rear of the vehicle.
Good boy. Yeah, boy. Good boy.
And got up inside and alerted, which indicated to us that there was the presence of human decomposition in the back of the SUV.
When the cadaver dog gets a hit in the car, it's the first real sign of anything, any hard sort of evidence that a crime has occurred. So at least they're pointed in the right direction now.
It's the first real break police have had in the case, but there's no denying the tragic implications of Indy's discovery.
In my mind, I knew Leslie was dead.
But without any blood evidence, let alone a body, how can detectives be sure?
At this point, it's becoming simple math. It really is 2 + 2. The dog picks up the scent of a dead human body. His wife has gone missing. There's all the weirdness with the Starbucks card and the money. Everything's starting to point to Lyle being involved in this.
After we had searched Lyle's Mitsubishi, we placed a GPS tracker on the vehicle, and Lyle picked it up later, and we were hoping that perhaps Lyle would visit the grave site or wherever the dump site was.
A month goes by, and the GPS registers nothing unusual about Lyle's movements.
He's going about his business as usual, which is odd considering that his wife is missing. But that doesn't justify arresting him.
Then on the morning of March 17th, the GPS shows Lyle on the move, traveling to LA's Griffith Park, some 15 minutes off his normal route.
That really stands out to police because everything for Lyle to this point had been buttoned up. They're really hoping that this will be their big break.
We went out there the next day with a cadaver dog, and we ended up getting a positive hit for human remains on one of the dirt mounds, which is about 20 feet away from one of the dumpsters.
Detectives searched the area, but couldn't find Leslie's body.
Based off of that information, I believe what happened is Lyle backed into this area, pulls Leslie's body out, lays it on this 4-foot dirt mound, moves his car back out to the parking lot, makes sure everything's cool. He walks back up in there, throws her in the dumpster, body's in the LA dump. We did look into the dump, but the LA dump is a massive dump, and it would literally be the needle in the haystack trying to find her body in that dump.
For Gable's team, every last piece of evidence is now critical. He turns back to the couple's cell phone records, hoping to find something that can help nail this case closed once and for all.
The detectives did do a check on Lyle's cell phone records, and they go a little bit further and actually check the bouncing off of the towers to see where the cell phones were.
Turns out that the phones were both in the very same location, suggesting that he was holding one phone in one hand and calling the voicemail of Leslie's phone in the other hand.
Police believe that he intentionally did that and that he also planted the receipt from Starbucks in Leslie's purse to make it look like she was still alive.
But what about the trip to Rosarito, Mexico? The one Lyle said he had expressly taken to find Leslie.
The receipts told us where he went, when he went there, what he did, and gave us a really good timeline to follow him through the course of those days he was missing.
One thing the detectives did learn is that when Lyle was down in Mexico, he actually asked around about some real estate. He asked about maybe opening up a nightclub in Mexico.
I would say maybe 5 or 6 or 7 places remembered Lyle distinctly. All of them said he was by himself, and he never asked anyone about his wife or showed a picture or anything like that.
There's no evidence that Leslie ever appeared in Rosarito. She never said anything to her family about it, and nobody in Rosarito ever claimed that they saw her. This was just a bald-faced lie on Lyle's part.
There's still no concrete evidence connecting Lyle to Leslie's disappearance and possible murder. But the circumstantial evidence is piling up, and it's given detectives the ammunition they need to execute a new search warrant of their condo.
It was a more detailed search, and this time they find something.
Hey, take a look at this.
They came across a Dear John letter that was addressed to Lyle from Leslie. And in this letter, she detailed her frustrations with the marriage, and she signed off on the letter by saying that she was broken.
It talked about past liens, bankruptcies. It talked about failed business ventures. It talked about all the troubles that they had been going through.
She had plans to leave him.
Something I've seen in so many cases where wives and girlfriends are murdered, the husband or the loved one does not want to be left. And it starts to appear to investigators that this might be the case when it comes to Lyle and Leslie.
A failing marriage, suspicious phone records, the hit on Lyle's car by Indiana Bones. How do investigators translate all this circumstantial evidence into an arrest?
It's not impossible to try a case without a body, but it's rare and it's difficult.
And that's when Detective Gable decides it's time to set a trap.
We decided to do a press conference.
And with Lyle being present, this may put some pressure on him. Pressure on him to talk, pressure on him to run, pressure on him to cry, pressure on him to admit something.
Detectives hold a press conference, appealing to the public to come forward with any information they might have related to Leslie's whereabouts.
Lyle didn't even want to go. I told him, you really should go. It's not going to look good if you don't. So we held the press conference and the family spoke.
Her disappearance is so alarming to us. As far as we know, the last person to see her was her husband, and her family is desperate for answers.
At the press conference, Lyle's kind of off the side by himself. He's kind of just behind everyone in his own world.
He didn't want to draw attention to himself, but basically the cops played a great game with him by essentially forcing him to the podium.
One of the journalists asked me how cooperative Lyle was. And I knew that question was going to come, so I thought I would push his buttons during the interview in hopes to get him to talk.
I would describe his cooperation as fragmented and less than helpful. Not someone I would expect for a grieving husband.
It was very apparent that Lyle still didn't want to speak, but after being put on the spot like that, he didn't have much of a choice.
He tried to explain why he had gone to Mexico.
I went down there to look for her, look for all the places that I thought she would be. Okay, that's one of the places that we had planned to go.
While Lyle's comments aren't incriminating, police now have him on record talking about his trip to Mexico.
And we knew that we could prove that he did not go down there to look for his wife.
The press conference made Lyle look really guilty, and it ended up having an even greater payoff. This basically led to the final piece of the puzzle.
As a result of the press conference, we did get lucky, and a neighbor came forward, and he saw Lyle sweating. He had a crazed look on his face.
For the past 7 weeks, LA detective Chris Gable and his team have been slowly building a case against Lyle Herring. They believed Lyle murdered his wife of 11 years, 44-year-old Leslie Herring, because she planned to leave him.
Probably the hardest part of the no-body investigation is proving that there is no life. So we decided to do a media blitz to get the word out.
So the press conference did pay off. And it paid off big because there was someone, a neighbor, who was pretty sure that they did see something on the night before she went missing. And they brought that neighbor down to the station.
I appreciate you coming in today, sir. Can you tell me what you saw that night?
I was coming out of my apartment, and Lyle was moving this carpet on a dolly.
Hey.
Like who's moving a carpet at that time of night?
Highly suspicious, and certainly enough to suggest that what he's transporting could be Leslie's body.
He was sweating. He had a crazed look on his face. He had a hoodie pulled up, and Lyle did not exchange any hellos or anything. And it made him so uncomfortable that he just skirted around Lyle and walked out.
I just wanted to get around him and get out of there. I did not want to be near him.
I don't think anyone had any doubt that Leslie's body was inside that carpeting. It coincided perfectly with her disappearance. We then combined that with the stories about going to Mexico, the planted Starbucks receipts, and the staged cell phone calls, and it paints a pretty clear picture of who killed Leslie Herring.
On April 28, 2010, nearly 15 months after Leslie's disappearance, LA police arrest Lyle Herring while he's on the job at Cal State Northridge.
The day that we arrested him, we wanted to be very low profile, so we just had one of the local officers go in and say that someone hit his car. And when we got him outside, that's when we took him down.
On March 14, 2013, the state of California versus Lyle Herring finally gets underway inside an LA County courtroom. Prosecutors argue that after 11 years of marriage, Leslie was done with Lyle and his fraudulent financial ways.
Lyle stole her identification, opened up a credit card, racked up thousands of dollars in debt. Imagine how hard it is for a wife to live with a husband whom she knows could stoop so low as to take money from her, his own wife.
Leslie clearly spelled out in a Dear John letter that she had planned to leave him.
It talked about all the troubles that they had been going through. It was a 2.5-page letter. And at the very end, it basically said, you know, I'm broken. I can't take this anymore. I'm done.
Prosecutors argue that Lyle tried to convince Leslie to stay, pulling out every trick in his book.
One of the things that Lyle would like to do when they argued, one of his ways of getting back into her good graces is he would offer to wash her hair for her.
We really got to talk about this.
What is it to talk about? This woman wants out. He doesn't like it. He just can't bear being rejected.
So the prosecution thinks that this whole hair washing thing might have gone awry.
So after tonight, I'm going to pack my bags and I just be at my mom's house.
What better vulnerable position to put your wife in than to be naked, laying in a bathtub, feeling sad about your marriage with your husband behind you?
It's that easy.
It's over.
He snaps and he just pushes her right down. And he holds her down until he drowns her.
For prosecutors, this evil act explains another curious piece of evidence.
I believe that she was adamant this time that she was leaving. He became angry. He choked her. He just simply put her under the water, hence all the splashing, hence all the water, hence all the towels.
And he really doesn't know what to do. So he wraps her body in some carpeting, loads her up on a dolly, and puts her body in a dumpster at a nearby park.
And though prosecutors admit they don't have a body, they believe they have the next best thing.
The prosecution has a story about Mexico. There's odd behavior at the news conference.
We had the cadaver dog hits. We had the cell phone records. We had computer records that showed that he was typing in the words murder, suicide. He typed in the words, what country should I flee to? Can I get a passport quick?
They have the Starbucks receipt, his strange behavior with his cousin Malcolm. That's a pretty darn good circumstantial case.
But Lyle's defense team argues the state's case is just that, circumstantial.
The defense theory of the case is that there's no body and she's still alive.
They hooked on to one statement that Leslie's mother said, that Leslie told her one day on the phone that there was a place called the Underground, and that she was going to go to the Underground.
There's no body. There's no DNA evidence. Nobody witnessed him kill his wife. Even Indiana Bones picking up a scent in Lyle's car didn't prove anything.
The defense worked really hard on discrediting the dog handler and the dog, saying that it was just voodoo science, basically.
On April 8th, 2013, both sides rest their case.
Jurors today watch a lot of fictional crime shows and police drama. They expect a mountain of evidence, including a body. So even with the brilliant circumstantial case that the prosecutor laid out, the verdict can go either way.
After just 5 hours of deliberation, jurors hand down their verdict.
The jury found the defendant, Lyle Herring, guilty of second-degree murder. We couldn't prove any premeditation, just the fact that he murdered her. She was sentenced to 25 years to life.
Lyle is in court, charged with murder, having absolutely no emotion, no reaction. I think that he had resolved to this crime long before that verdict. And this was just the final piece.
Leslie's family, you know, they're crying, they're embracing each other. And for them, I think that this was the closest that they were going to get to closure, knowing that, you know, the man who killed Leslie is behind bars.
Yes, they got justice because, you know, he's serving time for the crime, but they really want Leslie's remains. And he had never admitted to it, probably never will. So unfortunately, unless someone stumbles across the remains, they'll never find them.
I don't know what makes people do what they do, but valuing human life is something that I think is a pretty basic quality of being a good person. And unfortunately, Leslie, by all estimations, a really good person, unfortunately came into contact with someone who wasn't.